Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. Now today's video is going to be just a chit chatty one. I hope it's going to be quite brief but hopefully really informative as well, and I'm sure you know by the title, or if you've clicked on this video, it is going to be my tips, my top tips which really help if you are not doing them already, progress to your glutes. And I know all these tips have been essential for me over the past year to help me grow my glutes. Now for those of you who don't know, if you do not know me, my name is Sophie Aris, and for the past year and a few months now I retired. I stopped competing in bikini competitions, but up until then, or the 3 years prior to that, I was actually competing in shows. Now before that I lost around 4 stone in weight in total in order to compete in my first show. Going from being overweight, I never weight trained at all, and then when I was competing in shows, I basically dieted down, was on a very restricted, often low carb diet, and so I had not really much muscle mass, if at all really, to begin with. I just got myself really lean. My first top tip is eating enough food. It's really difficult sometimes to say, I know myself, when I think I've got to eat a lot of food over a consistent amount of time in order to build on what you've already got. But like I said, when I was competing, I was in a calorie deficit, not in a calorie surplus or even a maintenance, for a consistent period of time over a lot of months. So I maybe got lean and looked on the outside that I had more definition and was more shredded, but that is not the case in building a muscle. Some people are genetically gifted with a bum, but definitely not many people, and you probably see them mostly on Instagram, that are really lean themselves and then have a bum. But in order to have a peachy bum, you need to gain a little bit of fat and a little bit of muscle. Now when you start training, it's not all going to be muscle, it is a really big muscle, your glutes, and so it takes a long time to build up. So you need to be feeding your muscle with food. So what I would recommend, having a steady amount of protein. In my SoFit plan, I go through all macronutrient guides, so I'll link my new SoFit plan below if you are interested in joining our community. That gives you a macro tracker and a macro breakdown in order to calculate your own calories, because you know my own calories are very personal and everyone's are, so it's really important that you know your own calories. So eating enough in order to feed the muscle, that is essential. If you are not eating enough, then it will not grow. It doesn't matter how much training you do, it will not grow. So eat enough, that is my one. Now my second point is training. And so this is going to be broken down into a few steps, because training and the type of training is really important. A lot on Instagram and social media you see people doing about 100 glute kickbacks. Now although that might be a really good finisher to a training session, you really need to lift some heavy weights for you and progressive overload. If you are loading your muscle with a specific load, for example if you are squatting 30 kilograms for 12 reps and you continuously do that for weeks and weeks, you are not progressive overloading the muscle. So you need to be increasing either the reps or the weights, and you need to be doing that in your programming in order to see a difference. So it is progressively overloading the muscle, and that's how it keeps your body guessing and keeps on improving. Moving on to my top tip number 3, we've talked about the strength, progressive overload, we've talked about eating. Now before you train and whilst training, you need to really have that mind-muscle connection. This, for years and years, I could not get. I think a lot of the time during prep, if you guys are in prep or you've done a competition before, or to be honest, if you're just like tired and having one of those days where you just can't be bothered or really just lacking in a session, you just be going through the motions. And this is kind of like my top tip too, as well as you need to really be challenging yourself in every single session. But if you are going through the motions, you are not really feeling your like mind-muscle connection. And at first when I heard of mind-muscle connection, I kind of thought it was a bit voodoo, like it's a bit rubbish, but honestly guys, it really does make a difference. So when you are lifting weights, you really need to think about your glute contacts. And also before the exercise, sometimes I know that I'm really quad dominant, so if I'm lifting the weight, if I'm doing squats or say a leg press or something like that, my quads take over. So activation before you work out, I like to get some bands. I've got them off Beauty Builder, but you can also get them off Amazon. They're really cheap. Maybe even doing, I'm sure I've done a video on it before, some like crab walks or maybe some kickbacks. So just making sure that your glutes are warm up, ready for the session. That is my top tip number 3. Staying on weight training, we've covered progressive overload, we've covered trying to challenge yourself during your workouts, we've covered activation. Now we're going to move on to specific exercises. So I find there's 3 main specific exercises that I do cover in nearly every single glute session, which has really helped kind of, I feel like, lifted my bum, and also that I can really get that contact that we talked about in top tip number 3. And those exercises are hip thrusts, so barbell hip thrusts or Smith machine hip thrusts that I really like, making sure you can get enough range if you've got a stepper underneath. I really love sumo deadlifts as well. Anything wide stance is really good for your glute contacts as well. And also cable pull-throughs. So I like to get a rope on a cable, and if you face to the front away from the cable and literally pull through and down, and that really is a good exercise as well. So I like to incorporate those 3 top exercises in my training, my glute training, especially. I think my number 1 major one is barbell hip thrust. That is my one that you should defo try. My 5th and final top tip is consistency. It is really difficult to build any kind of muscle mass, guys, and it takes a long time, and sometimes I know I like quick fixes. I like something to be instant. I don't like to wait a number of months. But what I always think is that time is going to go past whatever you do. So if you are consistent every single day and you log your training, you log your progress, and I always think set small goals, even though you've got this massive one at the end, and that really keeps you motivated, and it also will keep your body guessing when you're training, and also, you know, when you're mixing up your diet as well. So I really hope you found my top tips really useful, guys. If you have, please make sure you click the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you've got any top tips yourself, please make sure you pop them in the comments below, and I will be sure to get back to you. So until next time, guys, I will see you very soon.